بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا فما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the principal things that you will notice in Islam and in Islamic behavior and character is the effective use of time. The effective use of time. Now, I'm not talking about in terms of calendars and reminders and whatnot. All of those are tools. But the effective use of time comes basically from a concern that whatever time I spend in whichever activity, that there is a result for it, and that result is a positive result. All time management, all effective time management really is not time management, it is management of priorities, management of actions. Time is not in our control, we cannot manage time. What is in our control is our own lives, is our actions, are our actions, and therefore, if we manage our lives properly and if we manage our actions properly, then time gets managed. And as I said, the way to do that is not rooted in the tools. The tools are things you use given a certain mindset. The mindset is what is critically important. If a person does not have that mindset, you can have as many tools as you want, the person will not use them. And we have enough and more evidence of this. Maybe may Allah protect us from ourselves. Maybe in our own lives we have this evidence that we have this tool and that tool and this reminder and that reminder. And today, technology gives us the mistaken impression of efficiency because we have a tool. We say, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I've got this calendar on my phone, and I have this and so on." The point is that if you look at it and say, well, how much of that do you really use, that tool, how effective it is, you will find that it's far from effective. So the key issue is the mindset. Now, what is that mindset? The mindset is that my time must not be wasted. How do I know whether my time is wasted or not wasted? By looking at the result. What happened at the end of that time span? For example, I'm recording this lecture. This will be roughly about 40 minutes. So now at the end of the 40 minutes, if I say that this 40 minutes of mine, was it wasted or was it used effectively? Inshallah, the answer is it was used effectively, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask me, what did I do in the 40 minutes? I will say, Allah, I spent that 40 minutes trying to understand for myself and teach to whoever was listening some ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regard to making our lives more productive, more obedient to yourself, and more beneficial for ourselves. This is what my answer would be. So alhamdulillah, this time is well spent. If instead of this, if I was watching, for example, a football match or a whatever kind of sports match, basketball match, cricket match, what would I say? Right? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You decide. You've spent 40 minutes watching this match. You are not a player. You are not watching the match in order to improve your game, because you don't even play the game. So why are you watching the match? So think about that and ask yourself, what is the answer that you will give? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question. Illa mashallah, Allah will question us about how we spend our time. What about those of us who spend a lot of time and energy engaged in discussing politics? And I'm not talking about discussing politics in your own country. You should discuss that, you should know what it is, and then you should go out and vote. I mean, that is the most important thing. The whole point of discussing politics is not to pass judgment on this and that politician or leader or political leader, but to actually go and vote to ensure that to the extent possible you have participated in the process of trying to get for yourself and get for your nation the best possible leaders. So if at the end of all that political discussion, if you do not go and vote, then you can say, well, all that time spent in the political discussion was a waste of time, and so I'm answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not talking about, I'm saying, for example, take the enormous amount of discussion that has been going on all around the world about the conversion of Hagia Sophia into a mosque, right? Was it a conversion? Was it a reconversion? Was it a reversion? This, that? Was it good to do? Was it bad to do? Should it have been done? Not been done? Who is discussing this? People like you and me, who have no say in the matter whatsoever, one way or the other. It does not matter what you think. What was done was done. What had to be done by the people who did it, for the reasons they did it, that had to be done was done. Matter is over, but we are still discussing it. We are still discussing it. We are still arguing about it. We are still getting all het up about it, and we're getting, investing time, energy, emotion. Ask yourself at the end of the day, if I total up all of this, what is the result of that? What has been achieved? Similarly, one of the hottest topics for the last 5-6 months, and of course obviously there's a reason, but still, is COVID. COVID scores are being kept like we used to keep football scores, right? What is the COVID status? What's happening in this country? What's happening in that country? In America? What's happening in Texas? What's happening in California? And if you say, well, where do you live? Oh, well, I live in Connecticut. Oh, nice. So, bottom question. Do you wear a mask when you go out in public into a building? Do you wear a mask? If the answer is yes, then okay, alhamdulillah, that is the only thing which matters. But if the answer is, well, it's okay, then all of this COVID discussion was a complete and total waste of time. Because you are not doing the only thing which is in your control and which will help you and help others, is to wear a mask. Do you wash your hands? When you are out and you come back, do you wash your hands? Do you carry a hand sanitizer so in case you don't come back home or to a place where you can wash your hands for a long time, do you have hand sanitizer which you can use to make sure that your hands are clean? Now, if these are things that you are not doing, then tell me, what is the purpose of this COVID discussion? This whole, talking about these numbers, that numbers, is going up, it's going down, it's going sideways, flat, curve, whatnot. What is the good of this discussion? At the end of the day, what has been achieved? Nothing, absolutely zero. Because once again, what is happening with COVID in India when I'm sitting in America, what's happening with COVID in America when I'm sitting in India, or whichever place, or even in the country itself, whether you are in India, America, wherever, what's happening with COVID, and how many cases and whatnot. At the end of the day, where did it lead us? Nowhere, right? Similarly, we talk about, so many people are testing positive. Other side of the story also. How many of those people who tested positive died? 1%? Now, even that 1%, if that person is yourself, if that person is somebody dear to you, close to you, that is a tragic thing. Even if that person is not close to you, dear to you, 1%, say for example 1% of a big number, is still 1% of 100,000 is 1,000. So there is a significance about that number, even if it is 1%. But what about the number? If 1% is so significant, what about 99%? Is that significant? Or 99% should be ignored and we should only focus on the 1%? Which one? So here we have a situation where 99 people out of 100 recover. We ignore that. We say, yeah, that's okay. But you focus on the one person who did not recover. And that 1%, inshallah al-mustaan, if that one person was a Muslim and he died or she died with Iman, then they got Shahada in the estimation and sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they got straight access into Jannah. So let us think of that also. Maybe if that person, anybody, all of us die one day, and that person also would have died someday. But if that person had died of some other cause 20 years from today, 1,000 years from today, where is the guarantee that this person would have gone into Jannah? The longer they lived, the more chance they had of committing sins, and we don't know what kind of life they lived and so on and so forth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took them early. Allah didn't give them that much of chance, and then He took them in a way where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if somebody dies because of an epidemic, meaning that if a Muslim, if a person with Iman dies because of an epidemic, this person, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the daraja, will give them the status of a shaheed. And we say, Alhamdulillah, if that person had to go, their death was written, they could not have stayed a second more than this. It's not a question of COVID killed them, COVID did not kill them. This was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qadar, and we accept and we are pleased with the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and we focus on the fact and say, Alhamdulillah, this person inshallah died a shaheed, so they died free from sin. Alhamdulillah. And out of these 100 people we are looking at, 99 of them survived. Even though many of them were elderly people, I know people who are in their 70s, I know people who are in their 80s, who got COVID, who were in ICU. It's not just a matter of saying, okay, they had COVID and they had no symptoms and they came out. No. These people were in hospital, these people were seriously ill, and Alhamdulillah, they recovered. Right? So they recovered, Alhamdulillah, they're fine. And inshallah, we ask Allah to give us, protect us from this thing. We ask Allah, those who are cured, we ask Allah to give them lifetime immunity to this and so on and so forth. So the point I'm making here is that we have a choice. And our choice is, how do we want to use our time? Do we want to use our time in a way which is beneficial to us, or we want to use this time in a completely thoughtless way where the time has passed and we have nothing to show for it? Which one? That is the choice we have. And this is where today's our lesson on living Islam that I want to talk to you about, where on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said that part of the perfection of one's Islam is leaving that which does not concern him. And this is in Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, rahmatullahi, Imam Nawawi's 40 hadith, and it's in Jami' al-Tirmidhi. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that part of the perfection of one's Islam is leaving that which does not concern him. Now, how do I decide what concerns me and what doesn't concern me? You might say, well, conversion of Hagia Sophia concerns me. World COVID figures, they concern me. No, they don't concern you. The way to think about this is to say that what concerns me is what directly affects me or indirectly affects me. The things I mentioned to you, they do not affect you directly or indirectly, except for a few people who are affected and who are in that situation. Other than that, this is just this is just discussion. This is just a complete and total waste of time. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, and also Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that part of the perfection of one's Islam, think about that, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is interpreting this in the context of our religion. If I perfect my Islam, what happens? Allah is pleased with me. Inshallah, I get Jannah. If I do not perfect my Islam, what happens? Well, I don't know what happens. Because if Allah wants to forgive me, He can forgive me. But if Allah does not want to forgive me and I present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an Islam which is imperfect, then I am in danger of that Islam not being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, obviously, I don't want that to happen. So therefore, my focus as a Muslim should be, I want my Islam to be perfect. I do not know how long I have to live, but I do know that one day I will die. I do know that one day I will go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, I want my Islam to be perfect. And what and how do I make this Islam perfect? By ensuring that I leave everything which does not concern me. Please understand, I'm not against activism. I'm not against, taking up the cause of taking up just causes and causes of people who you should stand for. We might not include yourself. It might be somebody else. You might not even be directly affected by what is going on. Like, for example, they take the Black Lives Matter protests in America. One of the most significant things and very positively significant things about the Black Lives Matter protests in America that are going on is the fact that white people who are privileged. No, I'm not talking about white people who are also poor. I'm talking about wealthy white people, politically very significant white people, governors of states, mayors of cities, people who are big business people, who have money, who have power. And as far as what is happening or has been happening and continues to happen, may Allah protect us, to black African people, that does not affect these people at all in any way. There is no way, no one is going to bother them, no one is going to even give them a ticket if they're driving on the road and so on and so forth. Yet those people are standing shoulder to shoulder with those black people. So the issue of what concerns and what doesn't concern is not a matter of saying it has to necessarily concern me. No, injustice will not go away. Injustice cannot be abolished until those who are not affected by it stand up against it. This is not my quote, somebody else said it. They said that injustice cannot be abolished until those who are not affected by it stand up against it. If injustice is, for example, today, this is a little bit of a side note, but I think it's very important. Today, many of you may have heard this thing. To say, for example, if you look at a statement that somebody makes about black African people, and then you have some friend of yours or somebody who says, you know what, if I was black African, I would be very offended. My question is, you are not black African, I can see that. Why are you not offended? That's what I cannot see. Why are you not offended? For example, take Muslims in India. Yesterday somebody sent me a video of some politician in India making some extremely genocidal remarks about what he thinks should be done to the Muslims in India. Now, you, as a Muslim, as a Hindu, as a Christian, as a Sikh, as an atheist, you as a human being, are you concerned about that? Do you find that offensive? Do you find that you have to raise your voice against it? Now, if that is not the case, and if you are thinking, well, you know what, I'm not a Muslim. If I had been a Muslim, I would have been offended. If a Dalit is attacked, who stands up? Other Dalits. What about people who are not Dalit? Why don't they stand up? That is the point I'm making. And I can give you example after example. I don't think there's any point in that. I'm sure the point is clear, which is that injustice cannot be abolished until those who are not affected by it are willing to stand up against it. Now, that having been said, you and I need to decide which are those issues where I need to stand up, even though it doesn't affect me, yet it concerns me, and my standing up will make a difference, so I must stand up, even if I'm only one. People sometimes ask me, what is the point if I'm the only one? I'm saying, if you are the only one, then that is even more reason for you to stand up, because nobody else is doing it. So don't look at it to say, well, I'm only one. It doesn't matter. Alhamdulillah, you are the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to be a witness for what was happening when Allah calls everyone to account on the Day of Judgment. Because believe me, all of this today, it looks like, oh, this is happening. The eager people are being, they have been driven into slave labor in China. and nothing happens, and the Rohingyas are being genocidally treated. They are being killed, and they have been driven out of their homes, and they're living in refugee camps out of Myanmar, which is their home. They're living in refugee camps in Bangladesh. And nothing is happening. No. Plenty is happening. Please do not think nothing is happening. Every single thing that is happening on the face of the earth is being noticed and is being recorded and will be accounted for. The people who are doing good will be rewarded, and the people who are doing ill will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. Make absolutely no mistake about that. So don't feel depressed and don't feel sad to say, oh, but you know what, so and so, they're all getting away with it and nothing is happening. Nobody gets away with anything. That is why there is a day of judgment. That is why there is a day of judgment. Nobody gets away with anything. Every single person will pay for what they did. If they did good, they will get rewarded. If they did not do good, if they did evil, if they harmed people, they will be punished. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will not forgive until the person that you wronged forgave you first. So, no need to feel depressed about any of that. Question to ask is, what was I supposed to do? Did I do that? Did I stand up against that? Did I raise my voice against that? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know the famous hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radhiyallahu anhu, where he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you see anything wrong, if you see something wrong that is happening, stop it with your hand. And if you are not able to do that, then stop it with your tongue, meaning speak out against it. And he said, if you are still not able to do that, then feel bad, stop it with your heart, meaning feel bad in your heart about it, leave that place, don't stand with the people who are oppressing. And he said this last one is a sign of the weakness of your faith, meaning that you should have done one of the other two. You should have stopped it with your hand, or you should have spoken out against what was happening. The fact that you did not do either of these things is evidence that your iman is weak, your faith is weak, and you therefore need to go and strengthen your faith. Right? So the point is that, alhamdulillah, if you did that. But the issue is, if you are instead involved in things that are useless, that where you have nothing to gain or lose, where your standing or not standing does not make any difference, then, my brothers and sisters, you are only wasting your time. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is not from the perfection of iman. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in another beautiful hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, which is in Sahih Bukhari, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day of judgment, should speak that which is good or keep silent. Now see this beautiful hadith, what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. He says, whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of judgment, what must this person do? He must speak something good, or he must remain silent. He's not giving you an option of saying, just speak because you have an opinion. Just speak because there is somebody to listen to you, or because speak whether anybody is listening to you or not. No. He's saying, speak if you have something good. Is he saying that if you know something evil about somebody, if there is some negativity somewhere, talk about that? No. He's not saying that. He's not saying talk about negative things. He's saying speak if that which is good, or remain silent. If you keep your mouth shut, usually nothing bad can happen. The only bad thing which happens is if you keep your mouth shut where you should be speaking out against injustice. So that, of course, is obviously bad. But other than that, if you keep your mouth shut, there is no problem. On the other hand, if you speak, then it can be good for you, or it may be bad for you. How do we know that? What am I saying? Am I speaking about something which concerns me? Am I saying something which is good? If it is something which is good, if it is something which concerns me, then inshallah my speech is good, I should speak. If it is something that does not concern me, or if it is something which is not good, what I am going to say is not good, then do not speak. Now this refers also to speech in any form, meaning emails, and today even emails people don't send. The biggest problems are the chats. So WhatsApp, Twitter, all of that, and especially the biggest kingpin of all of this is WhatsApp. Do not forward things which are not good. And putting a disclaimer saying forwarded as received is not a disclaimer. You are responsible. If you forwarded it, you are held accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forwarding what you forwarded, which may be a source of evil for somebody else, or it may be something which is wasting somebody else's time. So because this thing came, most people, the tendency is because it comes, they will watch it. And at the end of that, they will go away with bad feelings and so on and so forth. Somebody said to me, I get these videos and then I look at it, and the whole night I can't sleep. My question is, why did you look at it? Why did you look at it? I delete most of the stuff that comes to me. I delete it, except from people who I trust and who send me good stuff. Most of the other stuff that comes to me, make no mistake, I don't even look at it. I've got better things to do with my time. I do not have time to watch all kinds of nonsensical stuff that people send me on WhatsApp. So please, do not do that. Don't forward stuff. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, speak if it is good, otherwise remain silent. Same thing. Forward if it is good, otherwise remain silent. And that's not your job. You're not a postman to keep on forwarding everything that comes to you. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in the same hadith, whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day should not hurt or insult his neighbor. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should not hurt or insult his neighbor. And please notice, he did not say Muslim neighbor, Hindu neighbor, Sikh neighbor, atheist neighbor, believer, unbeliever. No. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should not insult or hurt his neighbor. So look at yourself. Do an anonymous survey of your neighbors if you want. Ask them, what do you think of me? How do I come across to you? There is no need to do all of that. You know for yourself. Believe me. You know if you are a good neighbor or not. If with your tongue or with your hand you are doing something which is causing a nuisance to your neighbors, if you are doing something which is a problem for your neighbors, if you are doing something which your neighbors dislike, then there is a problem with you as a person. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that this means that your belief in Allah and the last day is weak. Because this is, if you read that, this is what he is saying. He said, the one who believes in Allah and the last day, let him not insult or hurt his neighbor. So if a person is reading the same thing backwards, cause and effect, looking now at the cause and saying, if a person is doing this, if a person is hurting his neighbor, if a person is insulting his neighbor, what does it say about his belief in Allah and the last day? If he had the belief in Allah and the last day, then he would not do something. So if he is doing something, what does it mean? It means that his belief in Allah and the last day is either completely absent or it is weak. Now what does it mean about this thing being weak? Because my point is, if this belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu, and the last day means what? In meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what the last day is all about. The last day is about our meeting with Allah. We ask Allah to make this the best day of our lives. So if my last day, if my belief in Allah and my belief in the last day is such that it cannot even control my tongue, how is this belief going to ensure that I have husnul khatimah, that I'm going to die in a state of iman and yaqeen and where Allah is pleased with me? How is this level of belief going to save me from the anger of Allah on the Day of Judgment? How is this belief going to save me in my khabar when the angels come to question me, and so on and so forth? How is it going to happen? It cannot even control. My belief is so pure and so weak or so absent that it cannot even prevent me from saying something which is wrong, despite the fact I know it is wrong. Despite the fact that I know I should not curse, I curse, even though I know I shouldn't scream and rave and rant like a madman. I do that. When I get angry, I'm completely out of control. When if somebody does something to me, whatever I imagine or whatnot, then I am a nuisance to my neighbors. In whatever way I'm doing, some people celebration. You have the loud music, thumping. Yeah, there was a place where I used to live where there was these people. The flat below us, literally the whole building used to vibrate with the sound of the music they were playing. Somebody wants to sleep, they can't sleep because you are doing this nonsense. I mean, tell me how does it help? What does it do? This is we are causing a nuisance for others. And on the subject, I am absolutely clear. I am not favoring one for the other. What do you say about us Muslims in countries like India, for example, and it happens in other places also, in countries like India, where, especially in Ramadan, we insist on having the entire Taraweeh recitation on loudspeakers pointed in all four directions from the top of the masjid. And then there is a talk at the end of that, which is also on these loudspeakers. When we know perfectly well that the people who are living all around us, they are not interested in listening to that talk. If they were interested, they would be sitting in the masjid with us. Having a loudspeaker, having a speaker system to reach the people inside the building, inside the hall, that's perfectly understandable, that's perfectly justifiable, and alhamdulillah, no problem with that. But what is the need to have a loudspeaker mounted on top and our people screaming their guts out, disturbing the entire neighborhood? We insist on having our religious functions after Isha. Although we stand and say and talk about the Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he said after Isha go to sleep. Sleep early, wake up early. This was the way of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But no. We like to talk about the hadith, but we will not implement that. Implementation, we start our activities after Isha. So now you start these activities after Isha. Isha is maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30 p.m. And then your activity starts, and your activity consists of this, one speech or multiple speeches. And alhamdulillah, our people do not know how to speak in a concise time. So each speech is an hour long, maybe more than an hour long, and this function of ours, we consider it to be extremely successful if it finishes close to midnight or thereafter. And all that time, we have these loudspeakers which are blaring all over that entire neighborhood, disturbing the sleep of people. There may be somebody who's sick, they want to sleep, they can't sleep. There is somebody who might be students who might be studying, they can't study because you are raving and ranting in the ears. There may be other people. We have zero consideration for anybody. Now tell me, what is this? We park cars. One of the major reasons why people oppose the building of masajid in country after country is because of the way Muslims park cars. Nobody has any objection to a masjid. Alhamdulillah, it's the house of God, it's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to come and worship Allah, most welcome. Please come and do that. But please do not park your car across my driveway. Now you might say, well, who would do that? Who would do that? Who's so stupid as to park their car across somebody's driveway? You know who? Muslims. Really ask yourself this question. I have seen people parking cars on pavements. I have seen people parking cars on traffic islands. Because Salah. If Salah is so important, how come you don't go early where you can park decently in a proper place and then you go and do your Salah? No. You must go late and then you must climb your SUV onto the traffic island or onto the pavement. You park in front of it. Across. I've had to deal with these situations. I've had to deal with a situation where somebody very intelligently parked their car across a driveway. In Hyderabad, Literally across the street from our masjid is a church. Now we have been there for 10 years, and that church has been there from long before that. Every single year in Ramadan during Taraweeh, we have issues with Muslims parking cars across the driveway, across the gate of that church. And in those 10 years, not one time have we had a case where a Christian who came to the church to pray parked his or her car across our gate. Never. So tell me, what's wrong with us? What is wrong with us? Alhamdulillah, I have a very good relationship with those priests, and so therefore there is no problem, right? But I am the one who has to apologize to them because of somebody's stupidity. What do I go and say? What do I go and tell that priest? I'm sorry, my people are so stupid. My brothers and sisters, please wake up. Please wake up. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you have iman in Allah and in the last day, then you will not hurt or insult your neighbor. Bad parking is hurting the neighbor. Creating noise pollution is hurting your neighbors. What is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying about that? Right? Think about that. And then the last part of the hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should entertain his guest generously. Three things in this hadith. Number one, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever has faith in Allah and the last day should speak that which is good or remain silent. And then he said, whoever has belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who believes in Allah and the last day, should not hurt or insult his neighbor. And he said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should entertain his guest generously. And this is a Sahih Hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. The last one that I want to mention to you, which in this connection, on the authority of Tamim ibn Aus ad-Dari radhiyallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised about sincerity, and Tamim Dari radhiyallahu anhu says, we said to him, to whom, Ya Rasulullah? We should be sincere to whom? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to Allah, to his kitab, to his book, to his messengers, and to the leaders of the Muslim and their common folk. And this is in Sahih Muslim. So the issue of sincerity is that we are sincere, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that sincerity. My brothers and sisters, I remind you and myself, let us understand that this deen came to teach us how to live our lives. This deen is not a bunch of rituals. This deen is not simply, things that we do in a particular time and place context, meaning that it's not something that we do on Friday in the masjid or on Saturday somewhere else. This deen is how we live our entire life. And when we do that, who is the primary beneficiary? Us, ourselves. We are the primary beneficiaries because it is our life. Think about this beautiful hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he said that a person, two hadiths we mentioned today. One, he said, leave that which does not concern you. So here are you as an individual. You do not interfere in matters which do not concern you. Yes, of course, you take up matters which concern you, even though you may not be directly affected by that. You are standing up for a cause. Alhamdulillah, you will get respect. People will love you, and you will be influential. But you don't interfere, and you don't talk about, and you don't stick your nose into things that don't affect you. Alhamdulillah, which do not concern you. Alhamdulillah, you get respect, and you are the beloved of people also. Then the other hadith in Bukhari, where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is reported to have said, if you the person who believes in Allah and the last day, what must this person do? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, let this person, the one who believes in Allah and the last day, let this person do, he should speak something which is good, or he must remain silent. Now imagine if you are like that, what happens to you? Believe me, you will be hugely respected. People will come to you for advice because they know you will give advice, and they know that you are a person with dignity. You don't keep on going yap about everything. You have dignity. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, should not hurt the neighbor. If you are a person who who is good to your neighbors, what do you think the neighbors believe about you? Alhamdulillah. And the last one, the person who treats his guest generously, entertains his guests generously, you are hospitable, you are good to your guests, what do you think it does to you in terms of your own image as an individual? I am deliberately focusing, I'm not looking at the for this point, I'm not looking at the reward which Allah will give you. Of course, there's absolutely no doubt about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us if we live our lives according to how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. I am saying that reward, inshallah, we will get. But I am looking at right now in this life, is there a benefit? Is there a reward? Or are we talking about something which in this life will be painful and problematic and difficult and incurring loss, but we will get reward in Jannah? Which one is it? This is the beauty of Islam, that if we live our lives according to the way that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, we will benefit in this life and in the akhirah, both. It is not one at the cost of the other, no. This is the beauty of Islam. I remind myself and you, let us focus on this, let us practice it, let us not waste our time, let us ensure that whatever comes out of our mouths is always beneficial. Let us understand, let us make sure that we do not forward anything which is worthless and useless and harmful. Let us understand and let us practice this, that we live in a way where our neighbors are delighted to have us as their neighbor. Let us do this. And neighbors is not only people who are who live in houses next to yours. Neighbor is anybody we meet anywhere. This is all part of neighborhood. So if I go to a store, the other person shopping there is my neighbor. The person at the cash counter is my neighbor, and so on. So whoever I deal with in a way where I make sure of two things. One, I do not insult them. Two, I do not cause them any harm. Meaning, I am polite with them. I have a smile on my face. I am good to them. I am helpful to them. And this makes me, what does it do for me? Allah is pleased with me, inshallah. We ask Allah to forgive us, and in this dunya itself, we become the most beloved of people. This is the beauty of the sunnah of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I request you to make lots of dua for this world, for the people of this world, for relief from this COVID, from relief from suffering, from unjust rulers, oppressive rulers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us not to become oppressors in our own little ways, because then we will be driven in the same herd with those. The only difference is that they oppressed more and we oppressed less, and the only reason is because they had more authority and we had less authority. No, please understand this. Oppression is oppression. Whether you are doing it at a small level or a big level makes no difference. You are doing it at whichever level, which means that you are oppressing people. Please do not become oppressors. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to be pleased and not to be displeased, and to forgive us and never to be and not to punish us. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.